Listen closely, because what I'm about to say is not meant to comfort you. It's meant to wake you up, and if it unsettles something deep inside your chest, that means it's working, because the quiet truth most people never tell you is this: the moment you stop chasing affection is the moment it starts chasing you. And the moment you stop begging for connection is the moment you become magnetic. And this is not a trick, not manipulation, not games. This is Stoicism in its raw form, the ancient understanding of self, desire, silence, power, and intimacy, applied to modern relationships where men feel invisible and women feel confused, where desire burns hot but respect is rare, where everyone wants closeness but few are strong enough to hold it. In America right now, people are loud, desperate to be seen, desperate to be chosen, posting their lives, their bodies, their emotions, hoping someone will validate them, and yet intimacy has never felt more empty, because attraction does not grow in noise. It grows in presence, and presence is born from restraint, from discipline, from the ability to sit in silence without reaching for reassurance. And Stoic philosophy understood this long before dating apps and late-night texts, long before the modern confusion between sex and connection, because the Stoics knew that the strongest person in the room is the one who does not need to prove anything. A man who understands himself does not rush to fill silence. He lets it speak. He lets it reveal who is uneasy, who is seeking control, who is afraid of being alone. And this is where relationships expose the untrained mind, because when attraction begins, when desire sparks, when bodies respond before words, most people lose themselves. They abandon their center, they chase, they explain, they overgive, thinking intensity equals depth. But intensity without control burns out, while controlled desire, held steady, becomes irresistible. Stoicism never denied sex, intimacy, or desire. It warned against being owned by them, because when your need for touch controls you, you lose authority over your own soul. And in relationships, authority is everything, not dominance, not cruelty, but self-command, the quiet certainty that you will not abandon yourself to be chosen by someone else. And this is where real attraction lives, in the man who can feel desire and not be ruled by it, in the woman who senses emotional steadiness beneath the surface heat. Silence is not absence, it is pressure, it is space. It is the moment when attraction either deepens or dies, and most people fear silence because it reflects them back to themselves. But the Stoic understands that silence creates tension, and tension creates intimacy, not the forced kind, not the loud kind, but the slow burn that keeps someone thinking about you long after the conversation ends, long after the room goes quiet, because what you don't say often weighs more than what you do. In modern relationships, especially in America, men are told to express everything, explain everything, justify everything, but the Stoic man understands that mystery is not deception. It is restraint, and restraint creates curiosity, and curiosity feeds desire, because when a woman senses that a man is complete within himself, not chasing her attention, not afraid of losing her, she feels safe and drawn at the same time, and safety mixed with uncertainty is the foundation of deep attraction. This is not about playing hard to get. It is about being hard to move, emotionally grounded, steady in your values, calm under pressure, because when you are calm while others are reactive, you become the axis around which the relationship turns. And this applies to intimacy as well, because intimacy is not just physical closeness. It is emotional pacing, knowing when to lean in and when to hold back, knowing that desire grows in space, not suffocation. Stoic philosophy teaches that you do not control other people. You control your responses, and this truth becomes powerful in relationships, because the moment you stop trying to control how someone feels about you, you gain control over yourself, and self-control is attractive, especially in a world where emotional chaos is normalized, where people mistake volatility for passion, but true passion is steady, grounded, intentional, not frantic, not needy. There is a kind of sexual energy that does not come from aggression or desperation, but from stillness, from confidence, from a man who can look, desire, feel, and remain centered. And that energy is rare because it requires discipline, it requires knowing your worth without announcing it, it requires being comfortable with wanting without needing, and women feel this differently. Instinctively, because attraction is not logical, it is sensed. It is felt in tone, in timing, in the way you hold space without filling it. Stoicism does not reject pleasure, it rejects enslavement to pleasure, and in relationships, this distinction matters because when sex becomes validation, intimacy becomes bargaining, and desire becomes fragile. But when sex is an expression of connection rather than a pursuit of approval, it deepens rather than drains, and the Stoic approach to intimacy is not cold, it is deliberate, present, aware, rooted in mutual respect rather than impulse. Think about how often people overshare too soon, revealing wounds, fears, needs, hoping vulnerability will create closeness. But vulnerability without strength creates imbalance, and imbalance kills desire, because attraction thrives on polarity, on groundedness meeting openness, on strength meeting softness. And Stoicism teaches you to build the strength first, so that vulnerability becomes a gift, not a plea. Silence, again, plays a role here, because silence allows the other person to lean in, to invest, to reveal themselves. And when you are not constantly explaining your intentions, you allow actions to speak, and actions carry weight, especially in relationships where words have been cheapened by overuse. And the Stoic understands that consistency is louder than promises, restraint louder than confession. In American culture, there is pressure to label, define, lock things down quickly. But Stoicism invites patience, observing rather than forcing, allowing connection to unfold at its natural pace. Because rushing intimacy often hides insecurity, while patience signals confidence, and confidence is the currency of attraction, not arrogance, not bravado, but quiet certainty. This philosophy also teaches acceptance, not resignation, but clarity, accepting that you cannot make someone choose you. And once you accept this fully, you stop performing, you stop bending, you stop shrinking or exaggerating yourself for approval, and paradoxically, this is when people feel drawn to you, because authenticity backed by self-respect is rare, and rarity creates value. In intimacy, this means you do not rush to prove sexual worth, you do not measure yourself against others, you do not seek reassurance through touch alone, you bring presence, attention, restraint, and intention into closeness, and that presence is felt, because real intimacy is not about how fast things happen, but how deeply they are felt. Stoicism also teaches impermanence, understanding that nothing is guaranteed, not attraction, not love, not desire, and instead of fearing this, the Stoic uses it to stay present, to appreciate, without clinging, to desire without demanding, and this mindset transforms relationships, because when you are not afraid of loss, you stop acting from fear, and fear is what drives neediness. Jealousy and control. In modern dating, jealousy is often framed as passion, but the Stoic knows that jealousy is insecurity wearing a dramatic mask, and insecurity suffocates desire, while trust in yourself creates freedom, and freedom is intoxicating because people want to be near those who are free, not those who need to cage them to feel safe. This is especially important for men because masculine energy is not loud, it is grounded, it is stable, it is self-contained, and when a man embodies this, his silence is not empty, it is full of self-respect, full of intention, full of calm authority, and that authority is felt in relationships, not as control, but as steadiness. Stoicism also reminds you to choose character over impulse, long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure, and this does not mean denying desire. It means guiding it, channeling it, allowing intimacy to be an extension of shared values rather than a distraction from emptiness. And when intimacy aligns with character, it becomes deeper, more meaningful, more satisfying. In American society, where instant gratification is everywhere, this approach stands out because it requires patience, discipline, and self-awareness, qualities that are rare and therefore powerful, and when you embody these qualities, you do not need to convince anyone of your worth. It is felt, it is sensed, it is experienced through your presence. Silence again becomes your ally, not as punishment, not as withdrawal, but as space for reflection, space for attraction to grow, space for the other person to feel their own desire without being pushed, and this is crucial, because desire that arises freely is stronger than desire that is pressured. Stoicism teaches you to be comfortable alone, and this is perhaps the most attractive trait of all, because when you are complete within yourself, relationships become a choice, not a necessity, and when someone knows you are choosing them rather than needing them, the dynamic shifts, respect increases, attraction deepens, and intimacy becomes richer. This philosophy also helps you navigate rejection because rejection does not define your worth. It reveals alignment or lack thereof, and when you do not internalize rejection, you remain centered. Calm, dignified, and dignity is attractive because it signals self-respect, and self-respect invites respect from others. In intimacy, dignity shows up as boundaries, knowing when to say no, knowing when to wait, knowing that your body and your time are valuable, and this applies to both men and women, because Stoicism is not about gender dominance. It is about self-mastery, and self-mastery creates balance in relationships. The Stoic understands that true power is quiet, that the most influential person in the room is not the loudest, but the most grounded, and in relationships, grounding creates safety, and safety allows desire to flourish, because when someone feels safe emotionally, they are more open physically, more open mentally, more open spiritually. This is why Stoic motivation resonates so deeply right now, because people are tired of chaos, tired of emotional whiplash, tired of relationships that burn bright and die fast, and they are craving depth, steadiness, meaning, even if they don't consciously articulate it. And Stoicism offers a path to that depth, without preaching, without forcing, simply by embodying self-control and clarity. In the bedroom, this translates to presence, not performance, attention rather than ego, connection rather than conquest, because intimacy is not about proving masculinity or femininity. It is about shared experience, and the Stoic approach enhances this because it removes anxiety, removes comparison, removes pressure, allowing desire to be felt fully rather than rushed through. Stoicism also teaches you to observe your thoughts, your impulses, your cravings, without immediately acting on them, and this awareness creates choice, and choice creates freedom, and freedom is the foundation of authentic intimacy, because when you choose intimacy consciously, it becomes an act of alignment, not escape. In relationships, this awareness helps you recognize when you are acting from fear, from loneliness, from insecurity, and instead of reacting, you pause, you breathe, you choose your response. And this pause changes everything because it prevents you from saying what you'll regret, from chasing what isn't aligned, from giving too much too soon. American culture often celebrates emotional intensity, dramatic gestures, constant communication, but Stoicism invites you to slow down, to value quality over quantity, depth over frequency, presence over performance, and this shift is transformative because it aligns you with your true self, rather than the version of yourself shaped by external validation. When you live this way, relationships become mirrors rather than battlegrounds, reflecting your level of self-mastery, and as your mastery grows, so does the quality of your connections, because you attract what you embody, not what you demand. This is why the Stoic path is not about tactics. It is about identity, about becoming someone who is calm under pressure, disciplined in desire, grounded in values, and comfortable in silence. And when you become this person, attraction is no longer something you chase. It is something that finds you. In the end, Stoicism teaches a simple but profound truth, that the deepest intimacy begins within, that self-connection precedes connection with others, and that when you master yourself, you naturally create space for meaningful relationships, for desire that is deep rather than desperate, for intimacy that is steady rather than chaotic. So if you feel that quiet pull, that sense that something deeper is possible, listen to it, cultivate silence, build discipline, know yourself, and let relationships become an extension of your strength rather than a substitute for it, because in a world obsessed with noise, the calm, grounded, self-possessed individual becomes unforgettable, and that is where true attraction, true intimacy, and true fulfillment begin.